Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today it is time to have a look at another pre-order pack for update 1.95, and the reason why we're looking at a pre-order pack instead of a devlog is because at least at the time of recording this there isn't a devlog out for the SAV 20.12.48. Instead all you have is the pre-order pack on the store, so that's what we're going to be covering. Some other little tidbits of information as well that I want to throw into this video, some things that I should have mentioned last video when it came to the STRV devlog and also its pre-order, is there was a nice little line in the devlog itself which was really cool. So it said, the Swedish ground vehicles obviously are making it into the game, while pilots will get their hands on a few dozen new toys waiting for them in the new Swedish aviation tree. Tank commanders who choose to obtain the STRV 1030, the pre-production model of the STRV, as part of the bundle in our online store, will have the chance to have the first taste of what Swedish ground vehicle tech has to offer, arriving later, part of a future update. So the bit I want to highlight is a few dozen, which at least, a few means at least to me 2. So we're seeing at least about 24 vehicles, maybe even more than that, from the Swedish aviation side of things. That to me is incredibly wonderful, and I can't wait to see what's in store for some of the higher ranks that they're going to be bringing in. But anyway, back to the topic of the video. This is the SAV. The SAV was a prototype developed by a Swedish company, AB Bofors, on its own initiative in the late 40s, so very similar to a lot of other vehicles which were created at that time. The Swedish were definitely looking for what was seen as infantry support vehicles, because they wanted to not really change doctrine, but they wanted to move away from towed artillery pieces and towed infantry support guns and switch over to more mobile tracked versions of it. And the SAV looks like a great example of that. Unfortunately, this was not accepted into service. This never actually made it to the Swedish Army, but it is, a prototype. It was fully built, and the reason why it didn't make it in was it wasn't efficient enough on the cost side of things, so it was a bit too expensive, which in generally, in War Thunder is kind of a good thing, because it means it's normally a little bit souped up. This will be coming to the rank 2 of Sweden, so this will be the lower tech tree premium, where of course the STRV will be the rank 5 one, so that'll be the higher tier pre-order premium, and it comes with 1,000 golden eagles and premium account for 7 days at $19.99. So this vehicle, if you take away the 1,000 G in the 7 days, is probably worth around $10, and also on top of it, it gets this interesting pre-order bonus of the decal and the title for Sleipnir. And I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, but Sleipnir is a horse, which is, well, it has a really interesting mythology, so I'm going to go into it. As you can see, this is a picture of the horse, and of course somebody riding it. Now, who is that wonderful bearded man riding this horse? Well, that's Odin. This was Odin's horse, and it also has 8 legs, so it definitely would be able to gallop around the place. Another thing as well to mention is Sleipnir is Odin's steed, and also is the child of Loki, and a name which is incredibly hard to pronounce. I suppose it's Svaliofari or something like that. So Loki being Loki, if you don't know about Loki's mythology in Norse, it is wonderful. He basically just transforms and just goes around and boinks everything that he can find, creating these wonderful beasts like Sleipnir. And it's also described as the best of all horses, and is sometimes ridden to the location of hell. So the Prose Edda also contains extended information regarding the circumstances of Sleipnir's birth, and details that he is grey in colour. So there you go. With the other one, the STRV, you're of course getting Thor and the wonderful lightning decal. With this machine, you're getting an 8-legged horse, which was created by Loki, who wanted to have a little bit of bum fun. So moving on to other factors as well. this machine is incredibly fast. It's very similar to, you know, the kind of SPG that we saw, which was announced for War Thunder 2020. Now this machine right here, the IKV 72, very much similar to that in kind of design and idea, meaning that it has an 8-cylinder petrol engine installed on it, so we could go 52 kilometers an hour forward and 20 kilometers an hour backwards. That is definitely enough speed to be able to get around the battlefield and have a bit of fun with. The next thing is this actually has a derp gun. It's a 120mm naval gun. If you have ever used the Chiha shotgun, you'll know how these trimmed off shorter versions of 120mm normally go. It is normally not a great experience, but also with this machine, it also has another part to it. The other part that you can find with this is it only fires HE. So being a shorter naval version, it has an explosive mass on its shells of 2.25 kilos, which is definitely enough to put a big dent in whatever it finds, and it also only has HE. So there's no AP, there's no APHE, nothing like that, just high explosive shells. And it's also equipped with 3 smoke grenade launchers. In addition to this as well, one of the most interesting things which kind of sets it apart from the Chiha shotgun, because if you don't know the story of the Chiha shotgun, you have these Japanese low-tier pre-order vehicle, has a very, very bad fire rate. If you actually, when it first came out, if you hit somebody with the shell, they would normally go pop and absolutely be annihilated, but it was very easy to kill you, and also the mobility and stuff wasn't very good, so it was more of a meme vehicle, if we're honest. And the problem that really kept it back in those early days was its reload. The fact that you could kill one target and then you'd have to wait for ages, and at that level, at the lower tiers, when you have stuff like Stuarts, Panzer IIs, and BTs running around, they could shoot you 3 to 4 times compared to your one shot, so it really wasn't ideal. Then they changed how HE mechanics worked, and pretty much it made the Chiha, the naval shotgun on the Chiha chassis completely useless. You couldn't pen even stuff like Stuarts or overmatch their armor, and that meant that it just became really hard to use, if I'm honest, and kind of depressing to try and use. So they took it off sale, and then they brought it back eventually, I'm guessing because of popular demand, but it still has that problem with its HE, and I'm sure the SAV probably will have that too. But the big difference between the Chiha shotgun and this SAV is the reload on this 120 is 1.6 seconds. 1.6 seconds on a 120mm gun. I want to see the arms of these damn loaders who have to load this thing, because they're going to be popping out the top. How the hell are they loading a 120mm in 1.6 seconds? Unless it is a kind of either a clip system or it's some kind of first stage ammo rack where it's really easy to load the first few rounds, and then after that it increases. But I just want to know, how do you get down to a 1.6 second reload on a 120mm gun? Like, that is incredibly impressive, and it means that this thing is going to be really fun as a kind of howitzer, just throwing around the place, you know, throwing pretty much caution to the wind and trying to batter anything that it can find. The other thing as well to note, as it says, the Swedish Ground Forces tree will be released later on, and before then, each of these tanks, so the STRV and of course the SAV, will get 3 respawns in Arcade and Realistic, so very similar to other pre-order tanks we've had, such as the Leoncello and the M26. So yeah, that is the state of these vehicles, and I think that's fine. You know, it gives people opportunities to grind out their crews for Swedish vehicles. It also gives them opportunities to get used to the playstyle of specific vehicles, and when you have a look at this and the STRV, this is similar to a few of the other vehicles that we've seen, you know, in the game. Maybe slightly different characteristics, but probably similar playstyle, but definitely with the cheese wedge, it's going to be very key to get used to. seeing how it works. Now, the other thing is with the talk of this in the pre-order store, with the fact that we have, of course, the STRV there as well, there is a distinct lack of turrets when it comes to the Swedish tech tree, and it seems like it might be its defining factor. Adding on to this, we also have the IKV-72, which is a vehicle with no turret either. So, kind of like when the Italians were being talked about, when it came to dev blogs and, when it came to general information from Gaijin, one of the things that was really emphasized from the Italians was their tank destroyers, the fact that they're quite powerful, the fact that they're going to be a mainstay of the tech tree, and when they actually came out, it wasn't very fun to play them. And the main problem that all of the Italian tank destroyers had, it wasn't just, penetration or muzzle velocity on the guns. The main problem was the engine. The engine let down every single one of the Semaventes. The only one where it didn't feel like you were completely sluggish was something like the Breda. So with that, I'm hoping with the way that the STRV is being, described, and I know it's an MBT, but the way it's being described, and also the SAV, and my reading into the IKV, these vehicles are going to be a lot more mobile than some of the other SPGs/tank destroyers that we have in the game, which really suffer from not having a turret, because it is such an advantage in War Thunder to have a turret over not having a turret, especially when you have a machine like this, the SAV, which doesn't have a lot of armor on it. Remember, this would have been designed for infantry support, so armor is probably designed to stop rifle caliber, but that's really about it. You're not going to be stopping a bunch of shots with this. So being able to reposition, being able to get a gun on target quickly is going to be incredibly important with this machine, and without the engine power or the traverse, that is going to be hard to do, and you'll be sat once again in a situation like you would with the Semaventes. But these look way more promising than the Italian tank destroyers that we have in the game, and if it is a mainstay of the tech tree that we have these alongside some of the other Strindwagens and maybe some Centurions, you can see a basis of a really fun ground vehicle tech tree, where these vehicles are more designed to supplement stuff like the light and the medium tanks with the turrets, instead of being the mainstay, which is something that you are kind of forced to do when it comes to certain BRs at the lower tiers of Italy. Sweden is looking a lot of fun right now when it comes to their aviation and their ground stuff. I was personally a little bit disappointed when it came to the Chinese being added to the game, but then again, it's okay to not like some content and like other parts of it. For me, this is something which is looking increasingly interesting to me. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyins Terry, Elove Goat, and Seductive Trashcan for supporting the channel.